families. I thought I would make a quick vlog for this week, our first week back at school, and by way of introducing our inquiry this term. If you remember, last time we spoke about inquiry, we talked about our umbrella theme for the year, which is the hero's journey, and how children, all of us, set out on a journey of discovery. We transition across from the ordinary world into the extraordinary, or you could say special world, or even you could say the world of the unknown, and that's a big step to take. And then there, in this kind of special world, we discover things about ourselves. We might discover a gift, a talent that we didn't know we had. We might be gifted something from a mentor or a guide. And with these gifts in the bag, we continue on our journey and transition back into the ordinary world, so-called ordinary world. And we use those gifts, if we have done the hero's journey correctly, to add to the greater good, or to share those talents and those gifts. So that's kind of our umbrella inquiry for the whole of 2025. The first term was very much spent in the ordinary world, discovering who am I, this person, that this would-be hero that is setting out on their journey. What gifts, what talents already exist within me? Who could be my mentors? What relationships can I build with my friends, with my teachers, with my parents, with my community, that can possibly act as this very important mentor and guide on my own personal journey? And so a lot of the documentation was focused very much on making the ordinary visible, the ordinary, which is actually extraordinary. It's very special, these ordinary, small, everyday moments and things that the children are interested in, and qualities and characteristics that they bring. So this term, we are taking our step possibly across the threshold and into this unknown, into the extraordinary, into the world where magic happens, but where there might be great challenges. We feel that the children are they're steady, they've found their footing, they've made friends with each other. Teachers know who's who in the zoo, you could say. And now we have packed our bags. We've got some new skills. We've brought our own skills to the party, as it were, and they are ready to be exercised. We've got our bags packed, our toolboxes, and off we go. So this Tuesday, we have a pedagogy meeting every Tuesday. This is the PED team, and this is me, the pedagogista, the 4 teachers, and the 2 artilleristas. We get together every Tuesday to plan for this, what I call fresh-baked curriculum, that is inquiry-based, but that carries the wishes, the questions, the burning questions of children with us. So we move together with the children. It's not like children lead and we just follow after taking pictures. It's actually about how can we co-research together? How do we walk this journey together so that we can climb our own mountain, the thing that we're supposed to learn, the thing that is born within us to be able to research, to learn about, and that. So this week we got together for our PED meeting, and this is where we take a broader view. So we bring through, how do we start planning for inquiry-based curriculum? It's some parents want to know this, a lot of teachers want to know this. We went to our Africa Reggio-inspired Alliance conference over the holidays, and this is really a big struggle for teachers in schools across South Africa and even Africa that are so used to, like, having their themes and just sort of ploddingly forcing a curriculum down on children that aren't yet even interested in those things, or already know those concepts, and the curriculum then acts like a ceiling on the children's already existing knowledge. I hope I'm making sense so far. I know the discussion today is a little bit sort of pedagogical, but it's important for us to bring you and parents along in this journey, because you are protagonists in this thing called school, in this thing called small world. You and the children and the teachers, co-teachers, we are all working together on this educational project, and it's important for you to understand, you know, what curriculum we teach and how we make this inquiry-based, project-based curriculum with together with the children and you. Okay, so let me see if I can explain. So we then ask all the teachers to review their themes, their documentation from last term, all the artilleristas to go through everything and see what inquiries, what topics, what skills are yet to be learnt and discovered and researched. So last term there were many different themes or inquiries that came up. Some we feel we've got and we're ready, like spirals, we got it, we're moving on, we don't need to go back and start there and continue that inquiry deeper. But there are some that the children really are very interested in. Loris Malaguzzi is the founder of the Reggio approach. He said that knowledge, and I quote, "Knowledge is like a tangle of spaghetti. It has many threads, many beginnings, many endings." And he's challenging the idea of knowledge that we know as sort of disseminated in traditional schools as a very linear thing. You start here, then you go there, then you do this, then you finish, you test it, and it's done. Knowledge is like a tangle of spaghetti, and we know with recent developments in the science of knowledge, semiotics, that yes, knowledge is much more subjective. It's subjectively constructed within us, and it's not necessarily canonic, meaning there isn't like a universal set of things that all people must know. Okay, so working with this as a theory of knowledge building and how children learn to learn, we have collected things from last term that the children still want to know, and that we as teachers really also want the children to know. And we review old documentation, we refer back to our country's curriculum, the CAPS curriculum. We look at all the different themes that have come up, for example, colors. Here, particularly with reference to natural colors, so Park School, the children really love the color swatches and finding matching colors in the park with the paint swatches. The magic of mixing colors with everything, like for example, mixing colors with light, you can see red and blue has magically made a new color there, but also with paint. It's like a recipe, and children really seem very excited with that. We're also looking at different shades and tones of color, so even naming those. Children are they can very easily name, you know, yellow, blue, red, you know, but what kind of red, and just developing that sensibility in children that is very much about children, just knowing that there are many different tones and shades to something. Let me show you something I did with the children this week, which was looking at all the different kinds of yellow. And of course there are many different textures and colors and brightnesses of the color yellow, and to attune children, to make them aware that color isn't just about teaching the three primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and then the secondary colors and so on. So just not this kind of surface way. Another very important concept or topic that we want to discuss or research this term is this, numbers. So particularly numbers with reference to measuring, the concept, the idea of measuring and counting, and also size comparison. Now, you guys are going to laugh at us because you're going to be like, that's very ordinary for a preschool to be teaching numbers and colors. And you can point your fingers all you want. I'm just joking. We actually all want the children to know this, and actually children really want to know it, which is why it's in the country's curriculum, which we love. So it's just the how. How do you teach these kind of preschooly things with children, for two children, we say with children, that will keep their interest and inquiry going in these topics like colors, numbers, and not just sort of foist pre-made theme sets onto the children. Loris Malaguzzi, he said this beautiful quote from a book called The 100 Languages of Children. And he says, I love this. He says, our task is to help children materialize and then dematerialize light and color. When I materialize light and color, I literally take something and I put it in my hand and I make it a thing, and then play around with it, experiment with it, research it. Let's put that there. Research it and make new learnings about this so that they are always living within me. Therefore, the concepts of, say, light and color, which cannot live apart. Light and color. Color is light. Light is color. These concepts then become almost dematerialized, meaning they come and live within us and become ideas, concepts that can be, applied across any setting. So this is kind of the opposite to having flashcards. What color is this? What color is this? What color is this? The chance for children to actually play and work with these ideas with their hands. He says, Loris Malaguzzi, he says, this involves learning to blend colors together. So here we can talk about blending those colors with paint like the children did this morning, and to distinguish them. Look, there's some red, or is that red? Is that more pink? Is that perhaps magenta? Or how about crimson, that color? And what about when that color hits the roof versus when it hits the floor, the wall, which are different colors? Can you see this kind of developed sensibility that we can offer to the children, that isn't linear but complex like a tangle of spaghetti? So this involves learning to blend colors together and to distinguish them. This is different to this. And to appreciate the relationships between them and the effects that they create. So to appreciate the different relationships between this color and that color, whatever it is, that and this, or this and that, and how these different colors react. So for example, maybe if I put this inside this, perhaps a new color is formed, and so on. So he goes on to say, light and color offer children not only opportunities to experience physical and psychological well-being and happiness, but also extraordinary ranges of sensory and perceptive interactions. This week, when I offered the children different kinds of yellow and different forms of yellowness, they got to taste yellow, they got to smell yellow, they got to feel the smoothness of a yellow or the roughness of yellow. Can you see the way in which children experience color? There can be extraordinary ranges of sensory and perceptive interactions with, say, color. And these interactions, these perceptive interactions, could include the visual, seeing, you know. What do you see now? What happens when I do that and this? So visual, olfactory, the most ancient of senses, the most underutilized sense in schools. Not many schools pay attention to the smell. You know, when you walk in the morning and the teachers are brewing coffee, or Paisley's already got started on her homemade pizza dough. That is part and parcel of the school's environment. The auditory, like what we can hear, what sounds can colors make. There are children that can hear color. I can't. Or maybe I haven't taught myself to yet. But auditory, linguistic, so being able to name colors. It is said that when children can give something a name, then that is the beginning of a relationship for them. You know, and we can see children just knowing, just giving the most poetic names for children, like Plascon kind of names for children, as they bring their associations with that color into being. Just say they once rolled in a pile of crunchy autumn leaves. You know, they might say that this reminds them of that, and that this is crunchy yellow or whatever it is. So building that vocabulary in the language of color, and of course numbers, which is what we're going to be doing this term. Also the imaginative, so children are able to use color in the most imaginative ways. Here is Gael, and can you see him there? Here he is, and he says, this is Gael as the hero, and this is the rainbow TV, and these are all this is the rainbow TV, and these are all the controllers. And you can see this hero of Gael that almost has a frequency, a wavelength that he can tune into of this rainbow world, not just, you know, blue, red, yellow, whatever. And these controllers that he's able to access these different colors. So amazing imaginative possibilities for exploring color as well. I love Phoenix here. You can see here he says, this is a giant man. I think he's drawing himself here. And then he's surrounded by many, many different colors. And he says, this is a giant man. I have 10 powers. It reminds me of that drawing we spoke about at the beginning of the year in our parents' information evening, where we're looking for this giant man, this big me, not just the small me that is just, you know, red, yellow, blue, or rote learning 1, 2, 3, 4, which is also important to know, but it's not the only way to know numbers or colors. And then here is Thomas, who's drawn this multicolored version of himself, and all around here he is surrounded by his own superpowers. Can you see how they're all over everywhere, as if they can be kind of plucked out of the air? But he says, these are all my superpowers for running and playing. So this very important work that teaches us as adults that children learn by playing and movement and running around, not just, sitting down, coloring in things to learn about color and that. So, yes, dear parents, we're going to be researching colors and numbers this term. We quite like the idea of choosing something dead ordinary, so that we can together research how to teach the ordinary in very extraordinary ways. And I mean, you see this absolutely beautiful atelier this morning that was inviting parents to come and play in this language of light and color. Here we can see children already with expressions this week about color. Here we are inviting you as a whole community to research together these ideas as if from scratch, with fresh eyes, as if you're a child that doesn't yet know how to measure, as if you yourself are like a blank slate. Just say this is your ruler and it's got no markers. Why is there a 1 at this point, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? Think like that with beginner's mind, and as we explore. What can you do as parents to support this? I'm sure you'll already have very many ideas, and we would like you to welcome to offer those ideas to us. We are going to make the everyday thing an extraordinary thing. We can explore it through, these are other themes that came through with our documentation. Children have a very strong interest in theatrical performance. So what if you were the number 1, dressed up as number 1 in a shadow puppet theater show, and what would you have to say to the number 100, What about having this theme of peekaboo that especially the young children were very, very interested in, is something that is hiding in plain sight. Peekaboo, here I am. You can see me, but have you really seen me? How can we teach colors and numbers through peekaboo, and through hiding and through discovering these treasures and surprises? Teacher Jenny has got a beautiful rainbow in her window, which she made over the holiday, and the children are very, very excited to discover the answer to the question, what's at the end of the rainbow? And I'm sure you can read all the class documentation in this week's newsletter as well. Of course, light and shadow is a theme that must accompany us when talking about numbers and colors. Codes as well. So, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, do, re, mi, fa. These are all codes that children are very eager to learn in this world, because they realize that they're very, very important. So teaching through these colors and numbers, through also teaching codes. We're going to teach through games as well. This is a strong inquiry that the children were really interested in. Finluke's family have sent us some beautiful games to teach, almost like snakes and ladder type games, that to teach children about 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going up to the next level and falling down to the level below and things like that. Of course, stories. Who would we be? What would we be without stories? Also particularly stories about magical creatures, about imaginative creatures that children are inventing all the time as well. And then through gesture, 1, 2, 3, like that. But also gesture is a language. You can see I'm using the language of gesture as well to be able to explain myself even better. Gesture is like a language itself. For example, when little Wyatt tasted this yellow, he bit into it and he showed his facial expression and his whole body went like this. And he doesn't have to tell me, this is sour, yellow is sour, or yellow can be sour. I can see that gesture is a language that he has already built within him that he can use to explain himself and explain his perceptions of yellow. The imaginary, the fantasy, the reality, this is a big theme for us this whole year as we move from the real world into the imaginative world on our hero's journey. And children learn so much better, faster, if they can use their imagination, their right brain, as well as their left brain. If all these parts of the brain can light up when learning a concept like yellow or the number 3 or whatever. So that's also really, really important. This idea of being magicked or having things being magical, transformation, this turned into that. The 9 turns into a 6 by magic, and so on, playing around with how, say, violet can turn into indigo, which is what was happening in Jen's class this morning with Erin and Leia and Sonia. They were magicking new colors, different colors. Yeah, so these are some of the themes and threads that I'd like to I just thought I'd kind of collect together. I know it's a long vlog. You probably, sure, if you're still with me, thanks. And well done. I don't expect everyone to sit and watch through all of this, but the potential of light and color and numbers is really great this term. Look at this beautiful provocation in a Reggio school in Italy. Look at that. Look at what they're busy doing over here. And if you can see that, we're playing with different kind of fabrics that cast shadows outside. Look at this beauty of having different filters projected onto a wall and children moving their shadows across these different filters. Look at this beautiful light kind of piece of material that is casting almost like a beautiful snake skin. And then, of course, autumn is coming. So look how beautiful these as sort of teasers, as examples of also the kind of experiences that you can offer to children. Of course, you're welcome to, when you have got fruit out at home or whatever, this one is red, this one is yellow, but it's a nice idea to kind of keep it really, really complex with the children, so that they also are being fed, their inner worlds are being fed and, yes, deepened with this inquiry. So, dear families, thank you so much for your attention, for your ideas that are still to come. Work with your teachers and bring us your ideas, bring us your experience. You're also most welcome to just add to this whole school, whole class inquiry as we do numbers and colors in a Reggio-inspired way. Have a beautiful term, everybody, and we will keep chatting about this. Thanks.